you're just going by surface numbers, which of course in this situation we can't. 4 hard commits for a 2022 class. And of course, the typical numbers in the 20 to 22 range. It's the worst class in the Pac-12. It's number 102 in the nation. We know that's not where it's going to land, but it may not even look that pretty through the end of this week. So this is my guess, Matt, is that much like other big name coaches that are approaching situations across the country, it may be more of a positive, not necessarily that USC is going to land a ton of players this week, but that there's going to be a lot of players holding off to wait until February to give USC and Lincoln Riley a consideration.
I think that's a fair analysis, and I think with all the these coaching changes, they're not just significant coming at high-profile programs such as USC, Oregon, and Washington in the Pac-12. I mentioned last week this is the first time since 1941 that USC, Oregon, and Washington are all changing coaches in the same offseason. But of course, you also have Miami, you also have Virginia Tech, you also have LSU, you have so many other Florida, so many other high-profile coaching changes, and they're all occurring in this condensed period of time, precisely because the early signing period. If we did not have this early signing period in December, we'd have a much more slow-cooked coaching carousel. It would be able to marinate. It would be able to, universities would be able to take their time making these decisions into January or maybe just after Christmas, perhaps. But because of the early signing period, as everyone in the industry knows, it forces these schools to make these decisions much more quickly. It forces the coaches to make these decisions much more quickly. So yes, it would stand to reason that players are going to look at what happens. A number of players are going to look at what happens for a little bit before they dive in and make a full commitment to a school. So yeah, and in terms of USC, it's really interesting. Stanford has a top 10 ranked class heading into the early signing period, and you mentioned USC at 102. I think the interesting story relative to the recruiting rankings as we watch the next few days is not so much how high USC rises, but where USC lands relative to Oregon, because Oregon was the big hitter under Mario Cristobal, and now he's gone. And you have Dan Lanning, trying to salvage the class, but he's still going to be coaching Georgia in the playoff semifinals against Michigan, and then maybe the national championship game, which would take him through January 10. So I think in many ways, the interesting story is going to be not so much USC in a vacuum, but USC relative to Oregon, because Oregon was the program that was clearly crushing it in Pac-12 recruiting. So we know USC is going to rise to a certain degree under Lincoln Riley, but also we have to ask, how far is Oregon going to fall? And you have to wonder, Mark, this is another plot point to keep track of. Justin Wilcox, and he turned it down. And that's a confirmed report. John Canzano of the Oregonian broke the story. Kyle Bonagura of ESPN and other reporters confirmed it. So if Justin Wilcox didn't want to go to Oregon, he's a Eugene native, grew up there. You have to wonder, did he sense some erosion at Oregon? Is this program everything it's supposed to be, or is there some internal skepticism from people in the know, from people who are watching that scene very closely? It's a fascinating plot point. So how USC and Oregon both fare together, how they match up, I think that's going to be the story. I think so. If Oregon and USC are not too far apart, like that's going to be a win for USC, because then when Lincoln Riley gets fully established next year, one would think that USC is going to fully take over. So how much can Oregon really solidify this particular class, this particular cycle? I'm sure that's going to be of great interest to the people in Eugene.